When you have dynamite in a battle in the stone world, that is kind of the make it or break it. Negotiations very much are in your favor when you have an explosive at your fingertips. And while I know the idea of Tsukasa, pretty much every bit of his actions could be changed by helping his sister. That's not going to please everyone. But at the same time, I don't think there's necessarily a way to please everyone with Dr. Stone's resolution, because either there's pretty much three ways that it would have to go. You kill Tsukasa, which would anger a lot of people. Tsukasa would end up having to kill Senku, which would anger a lot of people, or it would have to end in some sort of stalemate or imprisonment for Tsukasa. And I actually thought Tsukasa would get imprisoned, and then over time, over years, either he would escape or he would basically change his ways. But when you go back and you really look at Tsukasa's mentality, and Senku kind of is like the only one who realized it, the viewers watching probably glossed over it just like the characters. Why would someone who's bound and bent on changing the world, why would he destroy statues? Why in his original life would he fight for money when apparently he's this very kind-hearted soul who wants to make a world that isn't violent? It just doesn't add up. And the idea of him having a sister, and that sister being the make it or break it for a truth, not something to make Tsukasa change his entire ways, but enough for him maybe to not want to kill Senku in his village. It is enough for him to change his ways, and I actually personally really like it, because the idea that, we've already seen a taste of the backstory with the whole seashells and things like that, the beating in the beginning of Season 1. I think it was like right at the beginning of Season 1 we saw that content. But to see the entire package about his brain-dead sister, someone who would never live again, she was just going to be a vegetable, but he never gave up on her, and someone who was very weak became very strong, and basically was doing whatever he could to fund her recovery, even though it was a hopeless and you could say a fool's dream. To have someone like Senku say, how about this? Because right now, at the end of this battle, neither one of us can win. Tsukasa can't dodge, he can't deflect. It will blow him up along others, and Senku wouldn't let any of one die for his behalf. So they're at a stalemate. The only thing that could truly change the tide of war is to give him the one thing that he doesn't have, because he knows the general area of where his sister is. Without Senku's technology, there'd be no way in his lifetime to be able to find it. You needed dynamite to break up the bedrock in order to hopefully find her body, and there isn't even a guarantee that it'll work. Probably will, but still, it's one of those things to me that feels like, in a stone world, where Tsukasa, even though he's had so many moments that you could say, is this even right or wrong, or is he in a delusional dream? When you put into perspective that the whole idea of the statues, how he believes that because, well, for him, he's not propelling a world of science. For him to say, I don't know if there will be enough revival fluid, and this is a stone world, so there's not going to be a way to sustain everyone, so you have to pick and choose who will basically be a part of the New World Order, and he decided to play God for himself. It all just lines up, and to me personally, nothing feels convenient. While I could see some people saying bringing up the sister is a lackluster resolution, for me, I like those emotional punches. I like when a character has more humanity, and there's nothing about Tsukasa that's ever been, he's a delusional musclehead. He does have this ridiculous idea that the world won't eventually have war even if he does stop Senku. That is a bit of a fool's dream. But the idea of how he's gone about things, he's never really been someone who just kills for fun. There's always, the only character he's ever wanted to kill specifically, unless you count the statues as being kills, which I guess you could, but in terms of people actively talking and going against him, he's never wanted to do anything. When Chrome was there, he gave Chrome the tree so he wouldn't fall to his death. There's always been so many points, and even in this battle, there was never a point where he tried to kill these characters. He was really just defeating them, and the only one he wanted to kill was Senku himself, because that was the one person he feared. It's really interesting seeing that backstory and the build-up and how they're able to play with negotiations in a pretty great way. And personally for me, I'm really excited to see where it'll go, because I've always wanted to see Tsukasa and Senku work together. And while we haven't necessarily reached the point where they're always going to be buddy-buddy, there comes a point where we meet another tribe that's been growing up in this world, or we got a natural disaster, there's a better chance for them working together. And as Tsukasa being one of my personal favorite characters in Dr. Stone, I personally wanted to see him, actually have a conversation with Senku without him trying to snap his neck or something like that. And we already knew the revival fluid has been a pretty prominent aspect about this show. Senku had his neck broken and was recovered, so the idea of her being brain dead in a vegetable state, there's no reason not to believe that this could fully recover you At the same time, I could see how it wouldn't because it's more of an internal injury, but we don't know, right? Anything is possible in the world of Dr. Stone with a magical substance that can kind of like unpetrify you and hopefully heal everything about you. The battle itself I thought was really good, and I thought it was just everything that we expected to see. They were giving it their all. Ukyo comes back. I know some people were like, oh, why didn't you talk about Ukyo last week? I assumed he was fine. It just didn't feel like this is the way he would go out. He feels like too important of a character with his like supersonic hearing that you need a character like that in future arcs. And we get to see him at the very end where he's like, hey, you know, even if paper airplanes aren't the best dynamite, my arrows are. And it's like, okay, well, game over at that point. And something I really appreciated about this episode is once again Chrome gets a moment to shine. Something that we've all pretty much appreciated when Chrome made his escape without Senku's aid is that it felt like Chrome was a character who wasn't just getting by because Senku was telling him how to do things. And Chrome is someone who's always been someone who's analyzed the world even before Senku arrives. So he has something in his mind as Senku's trying to build something, and he realizes that, wait, we used this acid, the acid probably still has a bit left after the cannon, so here we go, we'll use this. And it's this teamwork. It doesn't feel like, because Senku himself completely glossed over that fact because he's so bound and bent to find a solution that he obviously will miss over those details. But someone like Chrome, who isn't in the process of making an elaborate weapon in the midst of a life or death battle, he has the ability to scan the surroundings and see, what can I bring up that could work that I've seen used before? Oh wait, we just used this. It's really interesting how Senku isn't the only smart character in this show, and I think the biggest aspect that defines Season 2 for me is honestly Chrome's development and how much focus they put on him to make sure that we understand that he's not just the goofy sidekick. Honestly, Chrome is going to be Senku one day. Even if he's not technically the same intelligence level, if we ever got to see Chrome in his 50s, I really feel like he would be a very intelligent scientist with that wacky side. He'd be that wacky, insane scientist. That feels like what he would be. It was really interesting seeing the build-up and just feeling like, once again, 20-second battle to seeing the resolution and the negotiations, to me it felt rewarding. And it's not like this came like at the beginning of it either. Like, we've had so many weeks of building up trying to defeat Tsukasa trying to defeat us. It feels to me like, for me, I want to see Tsukasa live. And imprisonment probably wouldn't be the most like interesting thing in the stone world because it's not like they have a lot of things going for them right now. And it'd be pretty easy for them to break out of prison. Like, you can't use bamboo, you'd have to use rock. Like, there's a lot of ways for this just not to work out well. So the idea of going for that emotional swing, and we've already had tastes of it in the beginning of the anime, so to me it lines up. I could see why people may not like it, but for me it does work, and I really appreciate it. And I think it's going to be very interesting seeing future arcs as we get that Season 3, to see where alliance of some sort, a truce of some sort would go between Tsukasa as well as Senku, because there's going to be other threats, and it'd be interesting if they have to make trades at point. It just, there's so much possibilities for these two separate villages that may not necessarily agree of where the New World Order should go, but they're also not going to try to kill each other. This was an incredible episode of Dr. Stone. Honestly, I'd say one of my personal favorites of Season 2, and I'm really excited to see where the last couple of episodes will go, and what will happen with the whole revival fluid there. Let me know your thoughts and feelings down below. What did you think, and did you enjoy the conclusion of the Stone Wars, or did you have a different idea of how it should end? If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.